Imagine an airplane pilot taking off from San Francisco. Air traffic control hops on the radio and tells them, "All right, I need you to fly exactly 123 kilometers in a straight line." So if that pilot just throttles up and flies those 123 kilometers, why on earth might they end up completely lost in the mountains or, I don't know, out over the Pacific Ocean, instead of landing safely in Sacramento? Well, the answer is simple, but it's absolutely crucial. Knowing how far to go is totally useless if you don't know exactly which direction to point the plane. The distance alone, it's just a number. It doesn't tell the whole story. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly what vectors are, how to combine them visually using graphical math, and why changing your direction changes absolutely everything about your journey. We're going to literally take the guesswork out of movement. So here's our quick roadmap for today. We're looking at what a vector actually is, how to add vectors graphically, something called the commutative property, the secrets of vector subtraction, scaling and components, and then we'll wrap it all up with a final summary. All right, let's dive right into part one. What is a vector? Magnitude and direction. In physics, we deal with two main types of quantities to describe the world around us. First up, we've got scalars. A scalar gives you magnitude only. It's really just a size, a number, and a unit. Think 123 kilometers, or a temperature of 20 degrees. But as our lost pilot just found out, sometimes a scalar just isn't enough. And that is exactly where vectors step in to save the day. A vector gives us magnitude plus direction. So it's not just 123 kilometers, it's 123 kilometers east. Whenever you're dealing with things like displacement, velocity, or force, you absolutely need both of those pieces of information. It's the complete package. Moving right along to section 2, adding vectors graphically, using the head-to-tail method. Now that we've got the basic idea down, let's look at how we actually combine these vectors visually on a page. So, if you want to add two vectors together on paper, we use what's called the head-to-tail method. Think of it kind of like drawing out a treasure map, following one clue right after another. Step 1, you draw an arrow for your first vector. The length of that arrow represents the magnitude, so you'd actually want to use a ruler here. Step 2, you place the tail, which is the flat starting point of your second vector, exactly at the head, or the pointy tip of your first vector. You're just connecting them up. And finally, step 3, to find your final answer, you draw a brand new arrow from the very first tail all the way over to the final head. We call this final arrow the resultant vector, simply because it's the ultimate result of your addition. Let's make this super concrete with a real-life analogy. Imagine you're navigating a city grid. You walk 9 blocks east. Let's go ahead and call that vector A. Then you turn and walk 5 blocks north. That's vector B. By placing the tail of the north arrow at the head of the east arrow, we've successfully mapped your path. But what is your actual displacement from where you started? Well, we draw our resultant vector straight from the start line to the finish line. If you actually measure this diagonal line on your paper with a ruler, you'll get 10.3 blocks. And if you measure the angle with a protractor, you get 29.1 degrees north of east. Notice how you didn't just walk 14 blocks in a straight line. Your actual displacement is a brand new vector, 10.3 blocks along that very specific diagonal angle. Okay, part 3, the commutative property. Order does not matter. Let's look at a pretty fascinating rule about how these paths actually combine. Now, you might be wondering, like any sharp observer looking at a map, does the order matter? What if I walked the 5 blocks north first, and then turned and walked the 9 blocks east? Would I end up in a totally different part of the city? Well, the answer is a resounding no, and this brilliantly illustrates the commutative property. Just like in regular everyday math, where 2 plus 3 is exactly the same as 3 plus 2, vector addition is commutative. A plus B equals B plus A. If you draw it out graphically, heading north, then east, forms a triangle that gets you to the exact same destination, 10.3 blocks away at that exact same 29.1 degree angle. You could take a sequence of 50 vectors and add them in any random order you choose, and your final resultant vector, your absolute final destination, will always be mathematically identical. How cool is that? This brings us to section 4, vector subtraction secrets. Flipping the direction. We know how to add them, but what about taking vectors away? Now wait, this is super important. What happens if we need to subtract a vector instead of adding one? I know, it sounds incredibly complicated to subtract an arrow pointing in space, but the secret is locked right here in this very simple formula. A minus b is exactly the same as a plus negative b. So to subtract, we're simply going to add a negative vector. But what exactly is a negative vector anyway? Well, it's way simpler than it sounds. If you have a vector pointing east, making it negative doesn't shrink it. It doesn't change its length at all. It just flips the direction by exactly 180 degrees. So a vector pointing east becomes a vector pointing west. A vector pointing north becomes south. The magnitude, the actual physical length of the arrow, stays exactly the same, but the arrow now points in the absolute opposite direction. Let's connect this to a real-world scenario where a simple negative sign can literally ruin your whole night. What happens if a woman sailing a boat at night travels the correct distance, but she gets confused and travels in the exact opposite direction on the second leg of her trip? Here's that sailing mistake broken down. She was instructed to follow vector A and then vector B to reach a safe dock located 52.9 meters away from her starting point. That's A plus B. But it's pitch black out on the water. She messes up and sails the exact opposite way for that second leg. Mathematically speaking, she just sailed vector A plus negative B. Because that second arrow flipped 180 degrees, she doesn't end up anywhere near the dock. She ends up at a totally different location, only 23.0 meters away from her start, completely lost in the dark. So the absolute crucial point here is this. A plus B and A minus B take you to wildly different destinations. Once again, direction is literally everything. All right, Section 5, Scaling and Components, Multipliers and Parts. This is where we learn to stretch and break down these vectors. We've added and subtracted arrows, but what about multiplying them? We can actually multiply a vector by a standard number, which we call a scalar. Think of it as a multiplier. Let's say you take a vector journey and you decide you want to walk 3 times as far in that exact same direction. We use a scalar multiplier, usually represented by the letter C. Here, our multiplier C equals 3. The rules of scaling are incredibly straightforward. If you multiply a vector by a positive scalar, like 3, the length of the arrow simply triples, but the direction stays firmly the same. You just walked further down that exact same road. But you gotta watch out for the trap. If your scalar is negative, let's say -2, the magnitude doubles, but the direction flips completely in reverse. That negative sign basically acts like an automatic 180-degree U-turn on your vector. Now, what if we want to work backward? Sometimes we have a diagonal resultant vector already drawn out, and we want to know exactly how many specific blocks north and east it represents. We call this finding the vector's components. A component is really just a piece of a 2-dimensional vector that points purely vertically or purely horizontally. Just like we added north and east paths together to get a diagonal path, we can reverse engineer a diagonal path back into its north and east components. This is a massive foundation for solving complex physics problems, especially when we start analyzing forces and gravity later on down the line. And that brings us to Section 6, our final summary and key takeaways. Before we wrap this explainer up, let's quickly summarize the absolute key points we've conquered today. Number 1, vectors demand both magnitude and direction. Remember, scalars only need magnitude. Number 2, you can add vectors visually using the head-to-tail method, just drawing them out one after the other to find the resultant sum. Number 3, subtraction is surprisingly simple. You just flip the direction of the vector you're subtracting by 180 degrees and then add it normally. And finally, number 4, vectors can be scaled to make them longer or shorter, or they can be broken down into their perpendicular, vertical, and horizontal components. I want to leave you with one final thought to truly test what you've learned. If you take 2 non-zero steps, meaning you actually move a physical distance twice, under what exact circumstances could those 2 vector steps add up to exactly 0, leaving you right back where you started? Think carefully about the magnitudes and the directions required for that to happen. Ponder that, because it is the perfect mental setup for our next explainer where we dive into analytical vector methods. Keep learning, keep mapping those vectors, and I'll catch you in the next one.